Hi, welcome. Happy December. Nice to see everyone. Good seeing you, Paul. Seeing you. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Lawrence Township Council being held on Tuesday, December 6, 2022, has been provided through the posting of the annual meeting schedule of the said council in accordance with Section 13 of the Open Publics Meeting Act. Said notice was forwarded to the Trentonian, the Times, and the Ledger on December 22nd, 2021. Madam Clerk, may we have the inspiration and the Pledge of Allegiance also?
May we carry out our work at this meeting in a just, honorable, and sincere manner, always bearing in mind our duties in continuing to keep Lawrence a wonderful community in which to live. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we all stand just for a second, a moment of silence, please? For tomorrow is December 7th. It's 41 years since, or it's 81 years ago, 1941, when we lost 2,403 brave souls. Just for a second, please. Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mr. Bobbitt,
Here.
Mr. Kanaki,
Here.
Ms. Lewis,
Here.
Mr. Powers,
Here.
Mayor Ryan.
Here. Seeing no special proclamations, recognitions, presentations. We go public participation, 5 minutes, please. Ma'am,
Thank
please come
you.
up, state your name and your address for the record. You look really familiar, and I can't
I
put
know.
my finger on it.
I'm just a little younger than I was. Good evening. I'm Pam Mount, 330 Cold Soil Road. I'm a proud resident of Lawrence Township. And I'm here tonight in behalf of the Sustainable Lawrence and the Lawrence Green Team and the hundreds and hundreds of volunteers who have made Lawrence the town that we know and love. And that now we are, again, a silver community for sustainable Jersey, which is actually a huge accomplishment because there's only 81 towns that have reached silver and we've done it twice. So, and now we're up to about 500, a little bit over 500 points. Really, you only need 350 to make silver, and we're going up there. And but besides the points, it's all the people and the groups that have been involved and brought together to the benefit of each other, not necessarily themselves, but to everyone. And just a quick list or point to all the different groups. Many of them, of course, are the town committees, like Open Space with Paul Larson and the Nature Center with Dave Bostad and the Colonial Lake with Jim. All these wonderful groups and the people, the neighbors, add up to hundreds and hundreds of people. But again, Sustainable Lawrence, the Environmental Resources and Green Team, the Growth and Redevelopment, Historic Preservation, Shade Tree, Trails and Open Space. You can see them all having participated. And this is the printout of what we accomplished, all of the write-up of the different actions that we've taken over the last 3 years to accomplish this silver certification. And I've been calling Sustainable Jersey to get our plaque. Well, it arrived this afternoon in the nick of time, and good old Brenda Kramer got it nailed into the plaque out on the wall out here. So you'll see silver 2022. And this is our second one. So but there's a whole space for a lot more. So we will continue working. We never sit back and say we've done it. No, there's lots more to do, as you all know, because you've been very, very helpful, Council, for some of the things that we needed your support for, changing some ordinances, revising open space, other kinds of just governmental kind of things. It's really important. And certainly, Brenda Kramer. We could never have gotten all this paperwork done without Brenda Kramer. She, as everybody knows, is one of the engineers here. And not only is she super smart and can stay to task, but she kept all of us online to get this stuff done and dot the I's and make sure we had all the background material that we needed to convince Sustainable Jersey that we've actually done what we said we did. So she, I have to say, she got a raise. She is really great and really important. So we really appreciate all of you being part of this system and helping Sustainable. And Lee is here to document this for the world, and we're gonna tell the whole town, and I hope we'll have a nice write-up in the town newsletter and on the town website, because everybody should read this thing. Actually, I learned a lot from, I didn't really, we had done all this stuff. So it's great. The other thing tonight, real quick, my 5 minutes haven't gone by yet, is that Lisa from TMA was going to be here, but she couldn't make it. So she is now the director of the Lawrence Opal Trail, which is really good for us because she's very, very smart and really knows what trails people. But we have also received a gold award from Safe Routes to School. Congratulations, Lawrence Township. And the Safe Routes to School is really important because you're only in third grade once. You know, you got to be able to do stuff and get there safely and get back. And so she just wrote me a few notes about what it takes to have a gold award in the Safe Routes to School. And of course, one of the things that you all know about is Lawrence Elementary School. We did a grant to get the road made into a safe route with sidewalks and bike trails and good curbs and things like that. And that was part of it. And documenting how kids get to the schools and which schools are safe routes and which are need work. And so that was a big effort to come up with the surveys of all that. And the township police partnered with the intermediate school and the teachers, and we encouraged all the families and students to walk and bike their routes to school and tried to make sure they knew how to cross the streets safely and watch out for 206 and stuff like that. And then also the TMA made a Google map. Remember when we did the Greening Together Week in last spring? And Lisa was working with Paul and us. We wanted to do, remember the Ralph Koperman ride. We wanted to continue a ride somehow or other. So we decided to go from school to park, school to park. And we started Ben Franklin and made a map. And we didn't do anything different. We just showed people how they could go down this street and then go down that street. Then you get to the park. And now the map has been on the website. And now 2,100 times they've been viewed.
Nice.
That's simple, just a little bit. But people need to know how to get from here to there without getting run over or getting into a situation their kids aren't supposed to be in. So congratulations on the gold award for the Safe Routes to School. And I think we've certainly pursued this longer and more because we want those kids to get out of those crazy cars that their parents have to sleep idling forever. Let them walk home and ride their bikes home. That's why we have neighborhood schools, right? Well, thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, although I probably have to make it up, so. Anything else? No? Thank you very much, Mayor.
Matt, we appreciate your volunteering and all that you've done. And yes, Brenda Kramer is an asset to it. And thank Paul and Mr. Booker, Dave, we appreciate all that you've done. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Keeps me off the reservation.
A nice looking reservation down there. Is there anyone else for public participation? Please come up, state your name, your address for the record. Thank you.
My name's Nancy Albertson, 620 Valley Forge Avenue. I'm sure you guys are tired of seeing us by now, but as of December 4th, this is about Colonial Heights and Trenton Block. As of December 4th, it appears that Trenton Block and Hardscape has once again moved their materials onto part of Lot 16. There are numerous piles of empty pallets, which essentially could be a fire hazard, and it's at the back end of their lot where all these pallets are. The land is still with sweeping and other materials on top. No attempt has been made to restore any of the property owned by the township to the state it was in prior to Trenton Block using it for its own purpose. According to the letter issued by Lawrence Township on August 30th, 2022, Trenton Block had until September 30th to clear all township-owned lots and have land restored to original condition. I'd like to know what our township officials are currently doing to enforce this mandate. Are we imposing any fines on them? And what about the ordinance saying that anyone cutting down trees in the township without prior permission will be fined and/or mandated jail time? Why is this business not being held accountable for their actions? I would also like to know the status of the investigation on how the monetary funds for the purchase of lots 15 through 26 on block 503 was obtained. We've inquired in previous meetings, but we have yet to get an answer. Is there a status on that? No?
Ms. Halverson, I'm not quite sure, Mr. Nowinski.
I don't know what you're, say that last question again?
There was one of the very first meetings, the question came up as to how Lawrence Township obtained the money to purchase these
Well,
lots.
how we obtain the
Yes.
money to purchase.
And that was part of the request we had asked.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilwoman.
I think that the crux of that request, and I think at some point we did look at this, was whether it was open space money. And I feel like we got an answer on that. Did we, Mr.
It was
Newsom?
not open.
Okay. And I think just for clarity's sake, there are several resolutions that have to do with Trenton and sort of furthering some of those pieces tonight. Are there not?
Correct, yeah, we are doing what's necessary to stake out our property so it can be fenced. So it can be fenced off at the adjoining lot from Trenton, separated.
But that'll also give us a better sense and the owners a better sense, even without fencing, of where they should be putting things, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Can we fence it off if it's the DEP is looking under wetlands on that, or is that resolved on that matter?
Well, that's all a part of the process.
Right, we have to hold off until.
It takes time.
Thank you. So it was also, we made a request back in the summer to have these lots protected from future development and to be left in its natural state. Have we had any resolution on that, or are you waiting for the?
So that's all
answer?
those pieces.
Okay.
The puzzles aren't connected yet.
Yeah, I just wanted friendly reminders. There are still no, so this one was about the boundary
But
markers.
can we have them, if they're on the property again, move to have them?
Well, Mr. Parvis has been working with
I
them,
know,
like we
it's-
do all property owners that have violations. We work with them. They're a business and we work with them. This is not deemed to be a public safety emergent issue, so we're working through those issues. So one of the questions had to do with enforcing the removal of trees. If you have any information, firsthand knowledge, eyewitness information and evidence with regard to the property owners removing the trees, you should share that with our police department.
Okay, so.
Eyewitness, so it can be proven in court.
Okay, so I do have
Yeah,
Google
that-
Maps with the trees on them.
Okay, so that's not good enough, unfortunately.
Okay, but unfortunately, he did this over a period of 12 years, very slowly creeping back into the woods.
Yeah, so you know, that scenario with the tree ordinance is 99% of the time, it's an active situation where an adjoining property owner or a concerned neighbor are actually have witnessed, and it's in the act of cutting down trees. We had one on Brunswick Pike with regard to, I won't name the place.
Mhm.
Resident calls and say, hey, there are trees being cut down. That's a situation where all the evidence is there and we can take immediate action, send our zoning officer out there to cease and desist, and then force compliance. This is not that situation. And so there's aspects to it that we have to make sure that we comply with the law with regard to it. So what you have all advocated really well and heartfelt for, I think the substantial thing that we're going to be able to do is ultimately get them off our land and ultimately separate our land from their land.
And that's what we.
And then that encroachment is never going to happen again. So those are the elements. I know you wanted sooner rather than later, but they're all a bunch of moving parts, and your voice has been heard, and the elected officials have told me, to get this done. It's process and it takes time.
And I appreciate that,
Yeah.
but also we need to hear feedback about it. So you're giving me
Yeah,
answers tonight,
you're-
which is great.
This is how it works.
That's
So
right. Okay, so my other questions I had was, we know this was about the clear boundaries, but there was an existing land survey from November 12th, 1982 for Trenton Block when they purchased the for the township. 2003, there's a survey also for Trenton Block already that was in their deed. We know that that survey was requested by the township, and the township was charged $3,500 for that survey. And one of the neighbors went down to Mercer County and actually copied that deed for $10. So,
that's not accurate. So I don't want that to lay out there. That's not accurate. It wasn't a survey. It was a title search
title
done
search, all right, I'm
for the
sorry.
history of the property, so we had a better understanding of the chain of title from one entity to the next to the township.
Okay,
And so it required a lot of man hours. So we didn't overpay for anything, and it wasn't a survey. But what the information that we were able to get is going to allow us to have a more accurate survey prepared so we all know what the property lines are. For our town, not for Trenton Block's private commercial property, but for us. So that's all a part of the process.
and we have a copy, just to let you know that we got it from the county for like $10. So
That's
just again,
It's
that's
not-
just an observation on my end. And the other thing is there's lots of garbage and rubbish that they have thrown in the woods. I don't know if anybody can do anything about that. There's cinder blocks that are broken, pallets that are broken in the area surrounding them. I'm pretty sure this is considered littering. And then what we want is just a resolution, so we don't have to continue to monitor their activities and complain to you guys. We are only asking that Trenton Hardscape respect its boundaries and stay within its designated property lines, as well as having township property restored to its previous natural state. The other thing we would like is to make sure that the zoning regulations, Sylvia had brought that up in one of the meetings about an ordinance or something about not changing the zoning of that area. Do anybody recall that?
So we,
It's not being changed.
No, we know, but can we do that to protect that from it ever happening or occurring again? Or is that not feasible?
can I try and clarify?
Sure.
So, no, I'll start this way, and the attorney and the manager can interject. We can't ban future councils from
Okay.
changing the zoning forever.
Okay.
Also, one of the issues and part of the issue on this particular property is that changes to zoning based on New Jersey law only are impacting future business. So everybody who was there is grandfathered, which is part of the Trenton Block problem. So no, we can't tell every future council that they can't change the zoning, but also it wouldn't change any of these pieces because they would still be able to do everything they're doing.
So just a question,
Mhm.
if when Trenton Block originally came into being back in 1940s, was there zoning laws back then? Probably
I
not.
don't think so.
No.
So if you sell a business, how can you be grandfathered in if there were no zonings when that business originally started?
It's if you keep
That's,
the
that's
business.
the law of the state of New
Okay.
Jersey.
So there is,
I'll
okay.
I'll make an analogy that might help because in this case, it's a little confusing. The Route 1 diner is 24 hours. That is grandfathered in because it's always been 24 hours. Anybody who owns it and runs it as a diner gets to keep it as 24 hours.
All right, that just clears up a question that I had. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Alverson. Just one of the pieces that we're putting together.
Yep, I understand, and thank you for
Okay.
some answers tonight, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else for public participation? State your name, please, and your address. 5 minutes. Thank you. No problem.
Hello, my name is Glenn Elhart, address 624 Valley Forge, Lawrence. Really wish I wasn't here tonight. Going through this again, still touch on a couple of Trent Block things. And I guess, you guys all know that violation notice was served and he's still not observing anything on that, so we're not gonna go over here. Question, later tonight, one of the things on the agenda was like, it looks like it's like, approving like money for a survey. There, 2 or 3, the property changed hands, there was done one then. There's been no earthquakes or tsunamis or anything here. The land hasn't changed. Cherry Tree is still at the same place that it was. His building is not changed. And on the survey, you're gonna see distances. It should be easy like to mark the distance from the road to the end of this property. I don't know why we have to go through all this stuff with the survey.
Well, you have to do it. It's like we just, Ms. Albertson, it's part of the pieces that we're putting together
Yeah.
before we can move ahead.
Yeah,
It moves slowly. It's not gonna happen overnight.
Yeah, that, the markers aren't seeable. Those markers are on his property. They're his responsibility. If he knocked them down or damaged them, why are we paying for it? That's my question on there. And I guess Nancy.
Well, I think we really want to get this right.
Yeah, a municipal corporation must comply with the law, and that's what we're doing. And Glenn, you come here and it's great that you're participating and we get valuable information. But I would just caution you about the allegations that you make. Public participation is your right, but you have to be careful. You made allegations about actions by Trenton Block doing things. Just be careful with that. Because we have to be careful with it too. So we can't make the assumption that they took the foundation and they moved it.
I said they haven't.
What we're saying is, all I'm saying is that we have to follow the law and the process. What seems simple and silly to you about walking off steps on an old thing, that doesn't make sense. Because if there are plans to better encumber this land, to protect it in future, now is the time for us to have the right survey done and take the right steps to better protect your neighborhood and better protect the township land. That, since 1947, no one, it existed, or 1982, it existed, and we didn't really do much to protect it, but now we are,
We want to talk about the law here, okay? What if next week, me and 6 neighbors decide to move onto the front lawn here, open up a kiosk, have a little business. And the grass is slippery, we're gonna get rid of stone, you get rid of that, put some stones down there. The trees are in the way, we're gonna cut them down, we're gonna ride our cars over here. You think I'd be standing here? I'd be next door behind bars. I couldn't get away with it.
If we saw you do those things, you would be charged.
Exactly.
And in a court of law, beyond a reasonable doubt, you'd probably be found guilty.
Yeah.
There's a difference. There's a difference.
No, the difference is here it's visible, here it's in somebody else's backyard that you guys don't see.
No, I think
There's a legal standard
We
upon
haven't-
which we act. Dave, you could jump in and help me at any moment.
I think we should let Glenn finish his comments. He's entitled to his 5
5
minutes,
minutes,
Mayor.
correct.
Will we please let him speak and then we can move on.
And I think what Nancy was asking is, about the land. It was like originally asked, the request was not about, for the title stuff, was how was the land acquired? There used to be a railroad back there. And railroads are usually somehow involved with the state or the feds on that. Was there any kind of grant when the township got it? If there was a grant, it's probably not sellable. And then this whole thing would be moot, we wouldn't be arguing about it.
We are looking into it.
The whole purpose of the title search.
I know, but that's not the title search, that's Lawrence Township's process
It
of
is the
procuring.
title search. The title search led us to get the documents that we had from 1982.
Yeah.
That paved
So
the
that is
way
still- that
to
is
how
still-
we acquired the property.
That is
I
still
think it was
proceeding,
for
that is still,
$60,000.
you're still proceeding on that then.
No, we have all the documentation that we could, that is in existence as far as we know.
Yeah.
And that's why the title search was necessary if it came up. So when we acquire land and we have put Green Acres restrictions on it, you won't see that in title
Yeah,
search.
okay,
You know what I mean? So
okay.
we're on it. It just.
I'm not legal, I'm asking questions.
Yeah, I know, and that's why we're telling you.
I
we're
think
trying to
so,
do
a
our
point
best.
of clarification, the 1982 file revealed nothing. The records were bad. That's what prompted the title search, and that's why it cost the township a few $1,000s to find out what had really taken place.
Yeah.
So there's a certain amount of detective work that had to occur here.
Okay.
It's not merely getting a deed for $10. That deed didn't show anything. We needed to go back and we needed to understand the history of the property. It wasn't here in the municipal building.
Okay.
So we're trying to turn over every stone, do this correctly.
Yeah.
I know people aren't happy with the speed with which we're acting, but we're trying to do the right thing.
I think the other thing Nancy was trying to ask,
Sorry, your 5 minutes is,
what?
5 minutes?
This is
All right.
all I got to say, yeah.
Okay, if you mind, we'll just close
Well,
it
half
up.
my time was answering questions as well.
Well, just closing up right now, all right?
Yeah. Is there any way that property could get deemed as protected, just like it is right next door to the Green Acres?
We're looking at every aspect right now, I believe right now,
Yeah.
but it's the puzzle that we're putting together
Okay, okay,
on that, and then getting
okay.
off our property, but with all the searches, it does take time. I appreciate you coming out, sir.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay, yeah,
and
you know, I've
voicing
lived
your
in
opinion,
Lawrence
and
for like
it's
70
good
years.
seeing you, I mean,
You
it's,
know, I live on a dead end street. I'm a quiet person. I don't mind anybody's business. You know, I don't want to be known as like a troublemaker or a pain in the ass here. You know,
I don't consider you either,
you know, and
but I
I
appreciate you
really-
coming in.
This is not something I like doing. Well, thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much, I appreciate you coming in.
Mayor, I want,
Yes.
to be clear, I respect everything that you do and anybody that comes
Yeah.
up here and participates in the
Yes.
process of community. I don't want you to think that
Yeah.
I resent your existence here, asking questions. That's your job, right? And we do our job, so.
Well, I'm not,
You know,
I don't
have
need,
at it
like,
as
sitting
much
up,
as
I'm
you
not
need to.
trying to come up here and accuse somebody
No.
of something.
And
Yeah, that's,
And,
may
you know,
take
you
a
may
little
hear it that
longer.
way. That was not my
well, I
intention.
know, I just want you to be careful. That's all.
Yeah.
We've known each other a very, very,
I've known
very
you a long time,
I
and
know.
I've had good dealings with you in the past, yeah. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Anyone else for public participation? 5 minutes. Seeing none, we will close public participation. Go to review and revision of the agenda, none. We'll move. Can I get a motion to move 8A, please?
I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion to move A, B, D, and E in a block.
Ooh,
Second. Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes,
Mr. Powers,
Yes.
and Mayor Ryan.
yes.
and then I'll make a motion to move 8C.
Ooh,
Second.
Can mix things up for you.
Mr. Bobbitt,
Abstain.
Mr. Kanaki,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes,
Mr. Powers,
Abstain.
Mayor Ryan.
yes. 9, awarding and rejecting of bids. Can I get a motion for 9A, please?
I'll make a motion to move 9A, number 385, authorizing awarding bid number 22-11, 2022 ash hazardous tree removal to Harmony Tree Care.
Second. This is a part of our annual ash and hazardous tree removal program, and the amount of the contract is for $70,200.
Is there any public participation in this? Seeing none, we'll close it. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes,
Mr. Powers.
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes. Can I get a motion for 9B, please?
make a motion to move 9B, number 388, authorizing rejection of bid for RFP 911 emergency dispatch services.
Second. After receiving and opening the bid, it has become necessary for us to re-bid this with different terms. Instead of a 2 or 3 year period, we are going to put it out to bid for a 1-year term. And we'll see how we proceed further. Inflation is creeping into our arena real big, so.
Is there any public participation for this? Seeing none, we'll close it. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki.
Yes.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Powers.
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes. Can I get a motion for 10A, please?
I'll make a motion to move 10A, ordinance number 2437-22, an ordinance by the Township Council amending the Township of Lawrence Code of Ordinances to repeal Chapter 185 floodplain management, to adopt a new Chapter 185 floodplain management regulations, to adopt flood hazard maps, to designate floodplain administrator, and providing for surveyability and the effective date.
Second.
Floodplains change over time, and we are required to do new flood mapping. In addition, to remain compliant with the ever-changing laws with regard to the state and zoning laws. It's necessary at this time for us to replace this chapter with a new chapter that complies with everything that we need to comply with in terms of rules and regulations concerning the development and use of land in flood-prone areas.
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki.
Yes.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Powers.
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes. Can I get a motion for 11A, please?
I'll make a motion to move 11A, ordinance number 2434-22, ordinance amending S427 floodplain FP overlay district and S1202 zoning permit of the land use ordinance of the Township of Lawrence.
Second.
We are a community that participates in the Federal Emergency Management Agency flood insurance program. And this is a required amendment to our current ordinance that gains compliance with the new standards and allows us to continue on as a community that participates in that program.
Is there any public participation for this? Seeing none, we'll close this. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki.
Yes.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Powers.
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes. Can I get a motion for 11B, please?
Motion for 11B, ordinance number 2435-22, an ordinance authorizing and encouraging electric vehicle supply service equipment, EVSE, and make-ready parking spaces.
Second.
New Jersey state laws have recently been passed that require that our land use ordinances include specific terms and conditions and regulations that include electric vehicle supply, service equipment, and make-ready parking spaces for new land development. And this memorializes that and ensures that we are compliant, and any new developer that presents an application will have to deal with this.
Is there any public participation for this? Seeing none, we'll close it. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki.
Yes.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Powers.
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes. Can I get a motion for 11C, please?
Make a motion to move 11C, ordinance number 2436-22, ordinance of the Township of Lawrence and County of Mercer approving the application for a financial agreement of and authorizing execution of a financial agreement with Lawrence Logistics Center Urban Renewal LLC.
Second.
Mayor, I'll comment on this. This has been an ongoing negotiation with the redeveloper of this contaminated site. And I really consider this a win-win in terms of a cleanup of the site and also the establishment of a productive, rateable, and an appropriate location. What we're doing here is we're entering into a financial agreement that's called for under law. A lot of people refer to it as a pilot agreement, a payment in lieu of taxes. And that establishes a special arrangement between the township and the redeveloper. To say the township benefits financially is an understatement. The developer also gains benefits as well. But this is a classic case of how good laws can produce good benefits. A pilot on this site is a win-win for everybody. So we're just memorializing that now, and I'd ask you to sign the financial agreements after tonight's meeting, if this is approved.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Mr.
Is there public participation for this? Seeing none, I'll close public participation. Madam Clerk? Thank you.
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki.
Yes.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Powers.
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes. We have a manager's report, please.
I just have two quick items. As you know, council, you received an anonymous letter from a resident that complained of
Oh, yeah.
the smell of marijuana emanating from a parked car at Colonial Lake. And it was obviously a quality of life issue and a quality of life concern. I met with our chief of police, Lieutenant Whitmore, Nancy Bergen, who is in control of our parks and recreation, as well as our health director, Keith Levine, to get a better sense of what we could do with regard to enforcement and get some instruction and policy from you all with regard to this. Every park, every public park and open space is protected as a smoke-free environment consistent with the law that was passed in New Jersey. So our parks fall within that. We don't have our own ordinances with regard to smoking in parks. We fall under the Smoke-Free Act of the state of New Jersey. So what I wanted, the sense from you is, and I asked Lieutenant Whitmore to go back historically over the course of the last year or more recently, last 5 or 6 months, to get a sense of the amount of people that are calling to complain. And there was three complaints over a period of time. And so it's not extensive. And so we have to make a decision on how we want to approach protecting the quality of life issue with regard to smoking in park. It doesn't matter if it's cannabis or cigarettes, cigars. It's the act of smoking, which is covered under this. Presently, we don't have police patrolling our parks looking for smokers. It's just not realistic to do with the manpower issues that we have, nor is it something that maybe we want to do in terms of placing the police in a situation that could present a conflict on an issue that may or may not be necessary. So we came to the conclusion that we want to put up more signs. There are signs everywhere. So if you're looking for the signs, you will see the signs. If you're not looking for the signs, you will drive right by the parking lot and you will pass the sign and you'll smoke and you'll not know, what the law is. So we're going to study our parks to see where we could strategically place these signs. The police department is going to better educate the police officers in terms of engaging the community. If they're called out, it's an opportunity to educate, ask them to stop smoking in the area. And it doesn't have to be a significant toxic situation. And so they're going to be meeting with their patrol officers to get that started as well. So we're going to take the approach that we're going to amp up our awareness, develop a good policy among all the police officers, better signs, and then revisit the issue in 5 or 6 months. It's getting cold now, so people aren't going to use the parks as much. But so we want to make sure that the parks it's smoke-free. I mean, everyone should have the ability to enjoy the park. So we're on it. We couldn't respond to the person because it was an anonymous letter, but I wanted you to know that we are taking the steps necessary to try to address it in some way. And the one thing that I will talk to our township attorney about is whether or not it's advantageous for us to pass our own ordinances with regard to the parks. Will that empower us to do more? There is a section in Colonial Lake, the area where it's the cul-de-sac.
Yes.
That's not the park, so it's a very interesting situation.
I
So
smell
if
it
you're-
walking the dog.
So if you're
there. They're in the
smoking
car.
in a car on a public street, it's not a park enforcement issue.
Mhm.
So the one thing that we're going to look at, and I'll talk to Dave about this offline, is maybe designating that area as a smoke-free area as well as a way to enforce, because we know that's a trouble area as well.
Now, would it say like cannabis, smoke-free, no cannabis, or? Because
So,
I would suggest if a young person sees no smoking in this area, cannabis, that's going on their wall. I'm sorry.
So,
You would have to bolt that sucker down.
I would actually ask a different question, because I just want to make sure I understand. I believe that under the law, vaping counts as smoking, correct?
yeah.
So I think that one of the things with the signs is to make sure that that is clear, because I will, and I'll say this also, I think that it's important, not just in the parking lots, but also on the playing fields, because parents often have to tell other bystanders that it's illegal, and it's a lot easier to do it if they can point to the sign that's 10 feet away from them, especially because I have had this argument myself with people who go, I'm not smoking, it's a vape, it's just water, it doesn't count.
And I think that we could go stricter on our own land and our own thing to include vaping very specifically as well. I know another area is at the end of Cherry Tree Lane, near the canal, is another area. So, and that's state owned. So, I think signs expressly stating what is, that gets us down the road a little bit. But then I think educating our police and participating in this in a better way, I think will also help. So I just wanted to let you know.
The problem down in the Cherry Tree has been good. The police make it every so often, they'll just ride down there and it scared most of them away.
Yeah, I mean, people will find different places. I think if you engage somebody and say smoking is not allowed here, it's going to be an unusual type of person that will come back to that same space and do it again.
Will there come to football games with me?
Yeah. So it's interesting, because the police had a funny little thing that was happening is that if a parent of an opposing team sees a parent smoking on the other side, the police would be called. So it's just, we have to really be careful how we have our police engage with the community. So, so the more we put it out there, I think the more calls are going to be generated. So we got to find that sweet spot. So we'll
Right,
see.
no, I mean, and it's not, it's not to engage the police particularly on that one. I think Mike and I were at that same game.
Yeah.
Not that much.
So I just want to let you know, we're on it and we'll report back to you and hopefully we can resolve some of these issues. The only other item I have is, as you know, Craig Dinwiddie has been working as our community aide, coming on a year now. And I met with him today in terms of what are some of the plans in 2023 with regard to communication. And he had a slideshow that he prepared for me that I thought that you guys should really see. And I wanted to invite him either the next meeting to just do a brief presentation of what he's done in 2022 and what he plans to be engaged in 2023. He and I have worked together with regard to all of these items, and he's really moving the ball forward for us. And I think that it's something that if you guys were to tell me, yes, you would like to have that opportunity to hear from him, we can make it happen on the 20th. Good? That's all I have.
Good.
Yeah.
Is there anything, we're having a closed session, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Nowinski, is there any way, this is just out there, this is just for me, because our meeting is December 20th or something, is there any way that for the holidays, we could spruce this up a little bit here? Like a little garland across the front, maybe? Not like Merry Christmas, just no signs or
Something
anything?
festive.
Yes. Could we do that? Maybe like a red
Let's see if we
bow
can do that.
on that, maybe up here a little bit, just for the holidays, for the 20th.
I feel like the clerk's office is saying,
Yeah,
challenge
she's on it.
accepted.
Hey.
Well, if you
Come on, the clerk's office,
I'm
we're already
liking it.
started.
I'm liking it.
We're
We have to
ready.
encourage people to walk through the hallways.
But
I
Mr.
think it's pretty
Mayor,
cool.
Mr. Mayor, look, don't discount.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sorry. It's very nice, thank you.
Have you been through the building?
Okay, not yet.
I love the penguins.
Well, they're beautiful.
You have a contest.
I didn't see all of them, so I'm not
Pretty cool.
judging. The penguins just were cute. Just to be clear.
All right, we're gonna move on. Attorney's report.
I'm gonna save my comments for closed session, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Madam Clerk, how about it?
Well, I want to just thank the Public Works Department for all the help they gave us during elections. They always are great. Also Craig Dinwiddie, he helped me with the elections to bring up that information site. It was wonderful. And you also have your 2022 end of term listings that I gave you, with the people who are interested that
Yes.
have responded back. And some haven't responded back, which I will reach out to, at some point. So you have that, and that is about it.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, appreciate it.
Can I ask a question?
Councilwoman, yes.
This actually came up at our last DEI committee meeting. We have listed here a high school student.
Yes,
And the question came up, if that term is defined as, if it has to be a high school student, then that term should end when they are no longer a student, correct? You may need to go back and look, but it became, because this particular, and it's only the first year, but this particular person has gone off to college and hasn't been able to attend the meetings. And we had this discussion and it went, if it's supposed to be a high school student, we may need to end their term when they graduate. So if you can just take a look at that, so that we can do it correctly moving forward, that would be useful.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
Unfinished business, we'll move on to new business. All right, we have public participation again, 3 minutes. Anybody for public participation, please come up, state your name, your address for the record. I think I know you under that mask.
Who is that mask man?
Who is that guy?
Team is off again. Jim Cleek, 7 East Darren Lane, you'll be happy to know that I don't have anything or very little to complain about. I know this may be already a settled issue, I don't know, but if not, I had heard about Councilman Kanafi's raising the possibility of Pat Colavito, some kind of memorial honoring him, and I don't know what's become of that, but whatever, I kind of second that motion. I know that you can't honor everybody, but he was a legend. I remember him from the school board on up, and secondly, something that is long overdue, that I know you already honored the health department several meetings ago, and months ago, we were remiss at not coming up here and thanking them, because in the early days of COVID, people in our age group were desperately trying to find a way to get, you remember how it was? Now you can't give them away. To beg people, they won't take them. But we were on the phone 24 hours a day, working the computers, not terribly computer literate, and called that here, and they weren't doing anything, didn't know what was going on. When as soon as they knew, they called back immediately and helped us. And the next iteration, they did it without being asked. And I don't remember who it was, but it was just so much appreciated. And and speaking of wasting the police department's time, a little humor never hurts. But last night I felt so bad because the smoke in the oven caught on fire, set off the smoke alarm. Our phone, our landline, which is what our alarm company has, was ajar. They couldn't get us, so they called both our daughters, Heather and Jan, who were the next in line. They tried to call us. Meanwhile, the police came, and we had the alarm set for to go to bed. We opened the door, that set another alarm off. You couldn't make this stuff up. You went through the whole thing again. So I hope there wasn't any serious law enforcement issues while they were making that.
That's
That's
why they get paid.
I heard all of it though from my house. So.
We're glad it turned out
And
well.
the only suggestion or question, I guess, is do your microphones work yet? I know
Yeah.
they didn't for a while.
Yes, they're on.
Oh,
You
they
have
were
to hit the
on?
button, yes.
Because I know, I'm not, despite what my wife says, I'm not hard of hearing. And I know I've been at different meetings, especially when it's full and people have called out from the back and said they couldn't hear. And I know it's annoyed you sometimes. And there's certain ones that are more soft-spoken than others. And I was at the zoning board meeting the other night, and they were at a packed house, and maybe it's acoustics there or something, but they didn't seem to have, and sometimes they reminded the people to turn on their particular mic, and
Yeah,
they
you
didn't seem to
have
have a
to.
problem.
I believe they have a light on there
Yeah,
when it comes on.
right.
I'm just gonna, do these amplify or do they just record?
They seem
they-
to me to just
They
record.
do, because I
Because,
don't think they
I mean, Councilman
amplify.
Bobbitt, for example, no offense, but you're soft-spoken, and you don't know.
I guess I should speak up more.
And the town manager is except when he's going, interacting.
Well, you're always here when I'm like, emotional, so.
And I know we can never hear me. You can't ever hear me.
No, she's very quiet.
Yeah, right.
I'm retiring, that's me.
I do have a button under here where I mute.
Anyway, on my 3 minutes, I'm sure,
Thank you, sir. Be careful going home. Thank you for coming out.
Mhm.
Good seeing you.
Thanks.
Public participation. Anyone else? 3 minutes? We're going to close public participation. Thank you very much. Can I get a motion for 18A? One,
I'm gonna mix it up.
do it.
I'm gonna move H6 and H7 together, which is authorizing the planning board to conduct the preliminary investigation into 3131 Princeton Park.
And I'm going to second that.
And we'll start there.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
may I ask a question now that it's been moved?
absolutely.
Mr. Nowinski, I've been reading the authorization for the planning board investigation, and I had a couple questions for you.
Sure.
That's all right, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir. Listen.
On the clock still. Sure. I noticed that one of my concerns is sort of, there's a lot going on in that area. In terms of, Mr. Cleek, can you hear me all right? You're now my touchstone on volume. I appreciate that we had the developer come in I believe it was last meeting, and give a presentation about the sort of challenges that they
Yes.
have in leasing that space. And one of the things that I noticed, and I'm sure Mr. Roscoe, who does business in Lennox Drive, also has noticed, is that there are other buildings that are also sort of starting to be, post-pandemic, not being fully leased. And then, so that's across the highway and sort of Brandywine, Lennox Drive area, as well as the medical offices that are across the street, which I sometimes worry about them starting to fall out of favor with leasees. So the question I have is that, is there an ability for the planning board to look at that area as a whole? Or is this study merely for the property listed?
So what I would explain to you all is that we, as a town, and me as the manager, I did not go to the property owner or the developer and say, hey, this is interesting to me, we can do this. They come to us, right? So the developer and owner have this idea to reimagine 3131 Princeton Pike. And we have a courtesy meeting to go through what they have in mind. And so this one, and this happens all the time throughout the year with a lot of different developers and property owners, and nothing comes of most of them. This one had all the makings of proceeding further along. And that's why I made the invite and request to you all to have the developer come here. Something that we don't normally do at all or have not done ever. And to give us more of a meet and greet and a broader picture of what the plans were. They are not fully developed plans. So the long-winded answer to your question is that the area of redevelopment review is generated by the applicants in that particular property site. Dave, you can jump in and tell me if I'm wrong.
No,
but-
I
but
think
let me
that-
just finish one thing
okay,
though.
go-
So, but I think the review of the planner will take into consideration the area that surrounds that property as well when she formulates her study and opinion. So I apologize for.
Okay, no, I think what Councilman Bob was asking was, can we expand this investigation? And I don't think that's what is before you right now. In other words, we have, and it's not one owner. I think there are actually about 5 owners in this area. But what they've come and told us is our vacancy rate is far in excess of 50%. I mean, and I see it, I'm down there, the buildings are empty. So, redevelopment law in New Jersey calls for this process. They have a plan of what they want to do with the site. You're not agreeing to that in any way, shape, or form. But I think we can all take notice of the fact that the buildings are empty. So all we're doing in this process right now is reacting to this group of owners saying, we don't have any use of this. Our tax assessor also tells me, Dave, we can't fight any appeals. We're going to lose every tax appeal they file. There's no rent revenue. So the process is we have a study conducted. Now, Beth McManus is our planner. She understands redevelopment law, and she will then do a study in accordance with the statute. And I think what's important, the resolution that's been put forth here, we're not agreeing to condemn any property. That's a whole different kettle of fish. We're just simply looking at this area and saying, does this area need redevelopment? Does it need rehabilitation? And maybe it's split. Maybe some of it needs rehabilitation and some of it needs redevelopment. But that's for the study, and the planning board, that's their role. So all you're doing tonight really is saying, we see the buildings are empty. It is an area that requires a study or should have a study. And in our case, the developers are putting up $25,000. So it's not taxpayer money that's being spent on this study. The study doesn't obligate you to do anything. It's the first step in a process. Now, should the planning board also receive some input and want to share further thoughts with you, they can, but it's a whole process. This is just stage 1 of the process. And quite honestly, if you as a council want to have other study areas, you can establish them on your own. You don't need a developer to come and say that. Now, part of the rub there is when you don't have cooperating property owners, you wind up in litigation. We don't want to be the subject of a redevelopment study. We like it just the way it is. Leave us alone. You're not going to take our property. You're not going to control us. So, it's a process, and maybe the area where my building is, I mean, Councilman, I see it. The parking lots are empty since the COVID situation, and they're not coming back. I mean, everybody's been back at work and those parking lots are still empty. So I think there will probably be other redevelopment studies in the future. This is for this specific area.
Councilwoman?
So when we had this discussion, going off of what Mr. Roscoe just said, when we had some of these preliminary discussions, one of the questions that was bounced around was this idea of what do the other office parks around it look like? And I think that that's an important question for the planner to look at.
She will be looking at that.
Right, because I think it's important twofold. One, that we want to know if we have something very similar happening someplace within that direct area. But also, two, if this is unique, we want to be able to clearly define why this uniquely would need this sort of piece. So for instance, just, if we look at it, and I'm making up numbers, and it goes, well, there's an 80% vacancy rate here. Everybody else is at a 40% vacancy rate. That says something. And I think that the question goes to, just making sure that we're looking at the breadth, not if we need to do redevelopment, athletics or any of those others, but so that we understand the needs in that area.
Yeah, from my perspective, what makes this unique is
They ask.
They asked.
Right.
They're interested and they're ready to go to reimagine a location. And if we don't agree with that vision or resist in a way, we may lose that opportunity to another town.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
I don't
so I think
anyone's
the
suggesting that.
yeah, the signal to them is, yeah, this is interesting enough for us to let's go to this more formal step and then let's see where we are. Because we have an ability to do something really positive for the community, but we're not bound to anything. And redevelopment has a lot of advantages in terms of control by the town versus a straight up application to the zoning board.
Yep.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, if I could follow up? Yeah, I don't think for me, this was really me trying to understand what this resolution was saying and what it was setting up. Because in part, one of the things I took away from that presentation was the idea that some of our land uses are becoming a little antiquated in terms of how land is being used in Lawrence today. And I don't want us to sort of, my concern, and it sounds, you're giving me confidence that the planner is going to look at this, is that we would do something in one section of town and then sort of preclude other changes or uses on other parts, in terms of, say, too much traffic, then sort of blocking off other things. Because one thing I know as an architect is that once you sort of build something, it's there for a while. And so to just be cognizant of, don't just look at this one parcel if you can, planner, but also look at
The whole picture.
what that Princeton Street, and I understand the resolution itself is focused on this piece.
Are we up for any review soon?
Re-examination.
report?
Master
The master
plan?
plan? I think we're coming
I
up.
think we're
to-
close.
So so
I think
maybe
it's really close.
We are.
outside of this resolution, if you could ask the planner in your next conversation, ask about a master plan review as well. And what that, that would be wonderful.
And
Mr.
thi-
Mayor, I have no further questions.
And this is not taxpayer funded. This
No.
is the study, okay. As long as we're clear on that.
And I'm comfortable, just because we talked, puzzle was the theme tonight. This is just one piece of the puzzle. We can come back and do other pieces in the future, so I'm comfortable.
You don't have to accept the planning board's recommendation. But I mean, things are changing. Malls used to be a very popular use and very desirable. I'm sure Lawrence Township was very, very, very happy way back when to get the Quaker Bridge Mall. It's a tax appeal every year for us. It continues to shrink. I mean, things are changing, and that's why there's supposed to be a master plan update every 10 years. That should be the subject of the planner's next master plan update as well.
Now, would that plan include like the police department, the fire department? Or
No. This has to do with zoning throughout
Just the
the
zoning.
town.
Right.
And whether there is to be a change in certain zones in areas.
Okay, very good.
Could also include a mobility element,
Yes,
Right.
just throwing it
Yeah,
out
Oh,
there.
yeah, no, there's.
Because
Absolutely.
I'm just gonna throw it out there. since I'm-
absolutely, absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Powers.
Yes,
Mayor Ryan.
Yes.
And then I'll make a motion to move 18A1 through H5 and H8 through 11 in a block.
second.
Mr. Bobbitt,
Yes.
Mr. Kanaki,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Powers,
Yes,
Mayor Ryan.
Yes. Council initiatives, liaison report. Anybody report anything? We are having tree lighting on Thursday, December 8th. It is 6 to 8 out front. Unfortunately, I think people know I will not be there for that. We had a death of a dear friend of ours, and I think Tom, his first wife passed away from cancer 15 years ago, and his partner 2 years after, Bonnie, just passed away from cancer also. So the services, I will not be there on Thursday. If you guys would pick it up, please. It's from 4 to 4:30, I think.
6 to 8.
Well, here, 6 to 8, yes,
6 to 8.
on that. And then there's also,
I'm just gonna clarify, it's not a drive-through this year, right?
no, it's not.
For the public, they just need
No,
to know, it's
it's-
not a drive-through.
No, it's come and enjoy.
Yes.
It's come in according, and then also we have, it is December 10th, we have 9 to 11. It's at Cafe Du Pont with Coffee with the Cops. All right, that's donations for canned goods and all. And that's just not for that's year round. If you can give coats or whatever, it's nice this year. But come see the police down at Cafe at 9 to 11, December 10th on that. They would appreciate seeing you. Come down and
Where's that, sir?
it's in Lawrence Shopping Center, sorry. Go down and have a cup of coffee on Councilwoman or 2.
I don't know where I got roped in.
Is there anybody else that has anything?
Yes.
All right.
Mayor, just, Young Israel is having their menorah lighting. at the
Correct.
Quaker Bridge Mall, December 18th, 5 o'clock at the JCPenney Court. Council's obviously invited.
What time is that? December 18th at
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
And Mr. Mayor, I would just point out, I unfortunately got stuck in a meeting, but you were at Women's Space Lighting yesterday,
I was.
which is a nice tradition that we started, and this was the first year we were actually able to get the resolution in support of women's space on our agenda. Because they asked us before December.
It did. It was a little, it came out very nice. It was a good event. And then also Saturday, I was able to attend Special Olympics. And I'll tell you what, that made my week. To start off the Special Olympics, to see the kids run down Princess, and Amazon was a big part of that sponsoring. So they were a good sponsor in the community. Officer Gorski was there helping out. But when you think you're having a bad day, unbelievable event. We had scuba divers run, bunnies, everybody. It was just such a good and nice event. So, Councilman?
Next Thursday for us seniors that are out there, the Senior Center is having their Christmas musical at 7 o'clock next Thursday.
What day is that, do you know?
So, 15th.
Sounds right.
15th.
So put that on your calendar also.
One other thing,
Tis the season.
Mr. Mayor. This past Tuesday, I was at the 112th Field Artillery. And some of you might remember from Desert Storm, we lost 5 soldiers. They had a service and they planted 5 trees on the property for these 5 soldiers. The families was there. They had over 350 people in that building on last Tuesday. So,
Okay. Anybody else? Good. All right, we're gonna do written communications, none. We're gonna go into executive session and we appreciate you coming out tonight. Be safe going home. It's nice seeing everyone, even you, Paul.
He hasn't been here in a while.
Oh, you haven't? You know, it's always good.